Hello and welcome. Welcome to our webinar about engaging families during the high school transition. I'm Martha McIver, Associate Professor at the Johns Hopkins University School of Education, and I'm here with my colleague, Steve Sheldon, who's also Associate Professor at the Johns Hopkins University School of Education and Director of Research for the National Network of Partnership Schools. Over the past 5 years, we've partnered with Seattle Public Schools in an effort designed to improve how middle and high schools reach out to engage the families of students who are moving from 8th to 9th grade. This webinar is one of the ways we want to share with educators and others about what we've learned in the process. We have 4 main goals for the webinar. First, we want to help participants understand the importance of the 9th grade year and how families can support student success. Second, we'll discuss key principles for engaging families as students transition to high school. Third, we'll offer some concrete ideas for planning family engagement strategies that will help equip families with what they need to provide effective support to students. And finally, we'll provide specific support to participants in how to incorporate a focus on 9th grade outcomes into their current partnership programs, as well as how to make improvements going forward. For more than a decade, research in the U.S. has shown the critical importance of 9th grade for students' futures. 9th grade has been called the make it or break it year. Students are moving from school contexts where they often received more personal support from teachers to schools that may be much more impersonal with considerably less monitoring and support. In some districts, students can get behind in the number of credits needed for graduation by the end of the first semester in 9th grade. Once students are off track, it's often hard for them to recover to have successful high school outcomes. Research has shown how important attendance and student engagement are for high school success. Even students who are doing okay in middle school can start having attendance problems and then begin failing courses during that critical 9th grade year. Failing even one course in 9th grade puts students at risk of not graduating on time, since failing a course means you don't earn one of the credits needed for graduation, and you need to recover the credit somehow. This graph shows a relationship we've seen in district after district across the country. The probability of on-time graduation goes down significantly for each course failed in 9th grade. Regular attendance is critical because students who are chronically absent, missing 10% or more of school days, are more likely to fail courses. If students miss 2 days per month, they're missing 10% of school and are at risk of not succeeding in high school. Studies have shown how important it is to get on top of this during the first month of school so that students don't miss too much time and begin failing their courses during the first months of high school. Schools have been taking action in response to all this research on the importance of 9th grade. Many are paying more attention to the early warning indicators of attendance, behavior, and course performance. What we want to emphasize today is the importance of family-school community partnerships in addressing these issues, given the research that these partnerships are a key pillar for effective schools. We all agree that families are important for student success. But research has also shown that just at that critical transition to high school, school efforts to engage families tend to go down. It's not so much that families are not as actively concerned about their students, but that high schools have not been as active in reaching out to communicate with families about how they can help support their teens in school. So the goal of our recent partnership work with Seattle Public Schools was to learn how we could help schools to increase and improve their family engagement efforts right at this critical transition, and particularly as students are moving from 8th to 9th grade, starting their high school experience.
Our work was guided by several principles and framework components that we'll share with you. The first principle from which our work is based is that family engagement is critical for student success through high school. While most of the research on the issue of family engagement has focused on young children, preschool and early elementary school, there is a significant number of studies that also demonstrate the important role families play as children progress through their schooling. Studies of family engagement in high school, for example, have shown that it predicts higher GPA, more regular attendance, enrollment in more challenging courses, and a greater likelihood of going to college. Perhaps more importantly, students themselves report that their families are extremely influential. A national study of high school students showed that they rate their families as the most important influence on their own plans for education and careers. The second principle in this work is that we need to include families in our efforts to engage them with students about the transition to high school. This goes beyond asking families to help implement our agenda, which is often what happens. We need to first understand the strengths and assets families possess, and then think about how to leverage those assets to improve the outreach to all families and improve the connection between our outreach and student outcomes. Neither of this can be accomplished without a conversation and collaboration between school leaders for partnerships and family members. Keep in mind, it is important not to fall back on the same families that have always shown up for school meetings. Persistent effort needs to be made to engage with groups of families that are traditionally more marginalized and who may be more hidden from your view. At the same time, we need to be honest about the fact that there are rules and systems that exist within our institutions that are hidden to many families. As educators, parent liaisons, or other individuals working within school systems, you are likely to have a better understanding of the rules and requirements that exist and that students need to navigate in order to successfully complete high school. Help families understand how coursework sequence that their child is taking or that their child is scheduled to take have implications for their ability to graduate, to go to college, or to get meaningful work after high school. Talk about the relationship between chronic absenteeism or course failure and high school graduation, as well as the kinds of enrichment activities that are available. As one parent in Seattle put it, we don't know what we don't know. Sharing the knowledge that you have can become empowering to families. Some things that families might need to know include, what are the required courses for graduation, and how do those compare to the required courses for college entrance? How are math or foreign language placements determined? When do students need to stay home from school, and when should families insist that they go? Some other things are, how can students make up missed work if they're absent? What resources are available to help students with coursework or homework? And how can students recover credits in the event that they fail a course? An example of important information to share with families is that they can have an important impact on their child by checking in and making sure school and homework is turned in. Families need to know, for example, that they do not need to help their child or their adolescent study for exams or write essays. They would benefit from knowing, however, that course grades are often based to a large extent on school and homework performance, and many districts have a policy where assignments that are turned in on time can be resubmitted if a student earns a low grade. So knowing that these two classroom policies can help parents understand what to look for, i.e. missing assignments, and what advice to provide their adolescent, submit the assignment if it has a low score, are important pieces of information that we can share with families that can be very helpful. The National Network of Partnership Schools advocates for schools implementing a programmatic approach to family and community engagement. Specifically, we suggest that schools establish 4 practices to anchor their efforts. 1, create an action plan to guide your work for the entire year. 2, establish an action team for partnerships to develop and implement these plans. 3, include families on the action team, elicit and listen to their voices and perspectives in the planning and implementation of family and community engagement. And 4, reflect and evaluate your work so that you can continuously improve the practices that are engaging families in support of students' transition to high school. Now I'll transition back to Martha, who can share some specific ideas that we used in Seattle.
The NNPS planning forms, like the example in this slide, are a useful tool as schools seek to plan systematically. The form leads the team to identify the specific student outcome goal they're seeking to reach in their family engagement planning. The example in this slide focuses on a goal that may be a new idea for middle school educators, reducing the number of their 8th grade students who go on to fail 1 or more courses in 9th grade the following year, or to put it more positively, increasing the number of their 8th grade students who go on to pass all their courses the following year in 9th grade. Middle schools are not typically held accountable for the success of their students in high school. But if you think about it, the main goal of those working with 8th graders really is to help them get ready to be successful in high school. So this example plan makes that explicit. The school would have to depend on the district to feed the information about how their students are doing in 9th grade back to them. But it's possible to do this, and some districts are actually doing it. So what specific family engagement activities can help address this goal? The first step would be to ensure that all 8th grade families understand the importance of 9th grade and how they can support their child's attendance and course performance. One way to do this would be to plan high school information meetings for families where they could hear from high school educators, like counselors, about how to support student success. An even more specific family engagement activity could involve sessions or workshops to help more families learn how to access and use the parent portal so that they can more effectively monitor their child's grades and course performance. This could also involve working with teachers to ensure that they are using the portal effectively as a tool to communicate with families. Most districts have invested heavily to create these parent portals, and it is important for us to think about ensuring that as many families as possible are making good use of them. Research has shown that efforts to inform and remind families about how to access the portal have made a difference in student outcomes. So we're encouraging educators to think creatively about how they can help more families use this resource effectively. We learned that sometimes it's hard to get families to attend events that are just about using the portal, and so it's important to think about how to integrate outreach and information about the portal into other family engagement activities the school may be doing. It's important to use multiple means of communication with families to remind them about the portal and how they can access and use it. School leaders can request information about portal use from the central office, where the data are automatically collected, so that they can identify who may need special outreach, and also how they can track how well their school may be increasing the number of families who are using the portal. Now I'll turn it back to Steve.
Thank you. A third approach to fostering school, family, and community partnerships that middle schools can use to support their students transitioning to high school is TIPS interactive homework. TIPS here stands for Teachers Involve Parents in Schoolwork. This interactive homework, developed by NNPS, is student-led and embedded into the sequence of the curricula so that it supports learning. It provides a skill review, time to practice, and a place for students to explain to their partner what they're learning in class. It's designed to facilitate discussion between students and their learning partner, and it affords partners the ability to communicate back with the teacher. One of the strengths of TIPS is that it can help get information out to families who cannot attend school events. We know that for any given event or workshop at school, not all families are going to be able to come, but that information is no less important for those families to know. TIPS assignments provide you a way to communicate and share information with all families, and it does not require families to have flexible work schedules, nor does it ask them to choose between attending a school event and competing responsibilities that may exist at home. Research by NNPS with TIPS in math, language arts, and science show that compared to students and families who were assigned traditional homework, those receiving the TIPS assignments reported greater enjoyment in doing the homework, and they had higher grades than those in the control group. We created TIPS assignments on the transition to high school to facilitate discussions between students and family members or family partners about attendance, course passing, grades, and future aspirations or goals. Here's just one example of the TIPS homework we created that's focused on supporting students' transition to high school. This particular assignment is focused on the relationship between attendance and high school graduation, and it asks students and family members to read the graph and answer a question about it, and then it asks the students to write a text message about the importance of regular school attendance. Finally, at the end, it asks the family member to provide teachers feedback about how this pair perceive the activity. Thus far, the planning we've been talking about has focused on 8th graders, but it's important for high schools to construct plans for their incoming 9th graders. You'll see here that we've adjusted the desired goal to increase 9th graders accumulating all of their course credits. Additionally, we have on the action plan an orientation for the 9th graders and their families. Like in the middle school plan, using the online gradebook or parent portal is a valuable resource. And then finally on this plan, this high school is developing a communication plan for regular contact and collaboration with families and students who might be earning D's or F's in order to better support those families. A key to this kind of practice, however, is to develop positive relationships with the families, asking them what they need to help them support their adolescent academic achievement and well-being. Often generating lists like this can lead families to feeling like they're being blamed for their students' academic struggles. And when what we actually want to do is establish a partnership where everyone is working together to support the students' on-track performance. We also know that one person cannot effectively implement plans such as the ones we've discussed and presented to you. That's why our third principle is teamwork. We're often asked, do I really need a team? And for some, this question stems from prior experiences where working with others felt like more work than it would have been if they had just done things on their own. For others, schools or district leaders are reluctant to form yet another team. So why do you need a team? Simply stated, one person cannot plan and implement a partnership program that helps promote equity in academic achievement. Multiple perspectives are needed, such as those from a range of teachers, school staff and administration, parents, and students. These perspectives will provide you a range of views on the needs of the school, the community, families, and students. And this range of perspectives will also help you in the next critical principle to strong secondary partnership programs, evaluation.
One of the organizational routines that NNPS stresses is the need for regular evaluation of partnership activities. Unfortunately, time pressures often keep schools and teams from engaging in this very important activity. We're all at risk of being too busy to improve, but you can see the irony here. Failing to take the time to improve can leave us doing things the hard way or in ways that are simply not helping us achieve our goals. I'm sure that school leaders are seeking to follow Charlotte Danielson's guidance about the importance of teachers taking time for reflection about their instructional practice and engaging in conversations with others about how they can improve. But it's just as important to be taking the time for reflection about family engagement. And reflection, as Steve said, really needs a team to be effective because multiple perspectives are important in the evaluation process. These are some suggestions for helping to make evaluation a habit. Schedule time for reflection and evaluation of activities during each monthly team meeting. You need to plan in advance to gather data to use in evaluation. Data like family exit tickets at events to gather feedback from families about how it's going for them, how they perceive the event. And you need to plan extended time at the end of the year for reflection and evaluation. I'll talk next about some tools you can use in this reflection and evaluation process. This example is an NNPS end-of-year evaluation form that you may be familiar with. In the next slide, we see an example of a cycle of inquiry process, which you might be familiar with. The Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle can easily be applied to your family engagement activities and discussed in monthly team meetings. We have a cycle of inquiry form that you can download that can help you reflect in a systematic way. It helps you focus on your goals as you plan, what you observe when you do an activity or a strategy, what the data show about how well your activity or strategy may have worked as you study the results, and how this influences how you will act in the future as you proceed with your family engagement planning and implementation. So to summarize the main points of what we've covered in the webinar today, middle and high schools need to pay special attention to planning to engage families as students transition to high school. middle and high school family engagement efforts should emphasize helping families know how to support ninth grade student success. In particular, families may need support in how they can monitor student grades from the beginning of the ninth grade year and help students pursue interventions to help turn around poor performance. The NNPS approach of teamwork, goal setting, and evaluation with a focus on continuous improvement can help organize your work toward this goal. We have lots of resources available on our website that can help. Please feel free to visit the website and contact us for more information or support. Thanks so much for joining us. We'd love to continue conversations with you about family engagement during the high school transition and urge you to contact us by email so we can set that up. Thanks again.
Thank you.